The most ingenious bait, I guess, I've used in a bottle trap was my own poo. I do remember the fish tasting somewhat tangy. Fishing in small rivers, which is something that I've had to do quite a lot of over the years, especially during episodes of Marooned. And it's not as easy as you think. Laura said, why don't you do a video about a horseshoe fish trap? You can catch fish in the river down here, making a little corral out of horseshoes. Not out of horseshoes, obviously, because that would involve having to find a ironmonger and buy loads of horseshoes. Making a horseshoe shape out of rocks. And I'm like, Lord, that just wouldn't work. The fish in here are about that big. Even the biggest crayfish are, you know, that big. Corral kind of works in a sea environment because the water comes in, and then so the tide comes in, and then the tide recedes, and a corral kind of traps the fish in a contained space, and that's why it makes it easy to kill. Like what happened on Naked and Marooned, when in 60 days on a desert island I managed to catch one fish, one solitary, very appreciated fish. I think, yes, a lot of my lessons in survival are down to humiliation and failure, actually, if I'm honest. I've done a few short form little videos about setting fish traps with my little boy, and normally I make them out of plastic bottle, cut the end off, invert the end. They work to an extent, but you're limited by the aperture of the bottle in terms of what you catch, and obviously the size is pretty small at all as well. So I decided to buy this, just got it off Amazon, and I don't think it was expensive, sort of $20 maybe, I think. And haha, it springs out into this. And so this actually works the same as a bottle trap, in fact a double-ended bottle trap. You can see it's got a large aperture which encourages the fish to go in, and then a small, it's almost like a self-closing flap, which is just the natural materials closing, which then means that the fish find it hard to find this little gap in order to swim out. Easy to swim in, hard to swim out. And obviously same at both ends. It's got a little bag in the middle for bait. And where's my bait? Oh no. I brought some very natural bait down. Oh, you idiot. Dropped my chocolate digestives on the way down the hill. Okay, got him. Ah. Ran and I have found that the best bait in this river is biscuits, and the only biscuits left in the house are chocolate digestives, which arguably I like a lot more than fish. So this is a bit of a weird practice to be doing. You put the biscuits in the little bag inside. One of them I leave whole, the other one I crumble up a bit, so that one will last longer and the other one will sort of chum the waters, and then oh, so much better than fish. And then that's it. So I've never used one of these before. I've never used a bought trap. I've always really made things up as I've gone along in life. But just looks like it's going to work, doesn't it? You know, the hours and hours of effort that you would have to put in to make something like this out of natural materials. If this allows me around to catch a lot of fish or crayfish, then that will be amazing. I can imagine it catching fish. I think crayfish might struggle to sort of climb up this quite steep orifice. Let's see. Tie it to this big stone. It doesn't disappear. Trap set. This is the point where I'm slightly annoyed with myself that I don't have a GoPro so I can film underwater. leave that in the trap. Get amazing footage, wouldn't you? I've just got my phone at the moment. Note to self, once you get more than 3 subscribers on Patreon, treat yourself to a GoPro there. I don't think most people recognise the time that goes into making a trap like that out of natural materials. It is bonkers. If you think about how uniform a net is, a net that you buy from that's made in the factory, it's so uniform and the holes can be so small. Trying to recreate that out of natural materials is nigh on impossible. More often than not, you're trying to dissuade the fish from going in a certain direction. So if the fish really tried, it probably could swim through some of the holes, but it's a bit like the sort of guard fences that you put in when you're trying to steer an animal. That sounded like that bird. La cucaracha, ya no puede caminar. Traps like that take forever. And then if they don't pay off, it's just so frustrating. The amount of times in this last series of Marooned, I've made a fish trap. I spent a day and a half making it. Like, that's a serious investment, not just in my time, but if you think about a production, TV production, you know, a whole series costs millions. And you wouldn't think it, but it does. It costs millions for Discovery Channel. There's so many levels of executive producers and directors and blah, 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 and fixers and insurance and blah, blah, blah. It just costs so much money to get me there. So then for me to spend a day and a half making a trap and then I put it in the river and nothing goes in it. Or it's not got that attention to detail because I'm in a slight panic because it's at the beginning of a survival experiment and I haven't been composed enough to make it amazingly. And then, you know, fish aren't going to get trapped, are they? It's just there's nowhere to hide. They just don't get trapped. And that in a weird way is a pressure in itself. Like, how much time am I designating to building this? And it's similar if it was a genuine survival situation, I guess. You've got to be careful with what you put your energies towards, because if you put your energies all towards something and it doesn't work, on Olarua, crikey, it's not even in the final program because it was so boring, but I spent 7 days making a goat trap, which is essentially some sort of weird corral with a gate that's shut, but strong enough to hopefully, well, in my head it was strong enough to trap a goat, because I was really struggling with the fact that there was meat all over the island and I just couldn't get it. But they dropped it from the show because it was just 7 days of me labouring over putting loads of stakes in the ground and chopping down trees with a hand axe made out of a clamshell. When I say hand axe, it didn't have a handle on it, it's just a lump of clamshell. And all my knuckles were raw and bleeding. It was a beast. And then you've got the mental pressure of I'm wasting my time and I'm wasting other people's time and money. And it's not even entertaining. Funny where the pressures come from. Often pressures in life come from yourself, don't they? Come from your own expectations, your own harsh judgment of yourself. Certainly with me, I find that that's often the case. We get some fish in that trap. That would be nice. That would make Ram very happy too. Trap has upended. Oh my god, there's a massive crayfish on the outside. Huge one. Look at that. So there's a big crayfish on the outside of this, and it scuttled away as soon as I moved near to it, which it obviously would. There's just two small fish bouncing up and down in the bottom of there. Howler monkeys, just ace. Get so used to them, you don't even end up commenting on them. Right, These little fish are far too small for me. I'm going to put them back. I think the truth is it's a good first haul, but I think they need to be, I think the trap needs to be left overnight. Put the fish back. There you go. Swung off nicely. The two digestive biscuits are pretty much demolished, and we've got two little fish. Arguably less calories than the digestives in the first place. The crayfish that was on the pot, which has disappeared rapidly, was massive. And so I have every faith that this is a crayfish trap as well as a fish trap. But I think it needs leaving overnight. And for some reason in that area of the river it got dislodged and moved upwards, so it needs to be secured down somehow. It's pretty easy to, I think this is the other reason why I really quite like it. It's pretty easy just to squish up like that and then folds flat. A little bit of string attached to it, and that isn't very inconvenient at all. It's very convenient. Little flying saucer of fun. The most ingenious bait, I guess, I've used in a bottle trap. Ingenious or plain daft, I'm not really sure which one. Was my own poo. I didn't have any bait in Borneo, and it was the first ever episode of Marooned that I'd ever done. I found a plastic bottle. In fact, if I'm honest, I found a plastic bottle trap. I actually found one that had been inverted, and then I found another plastic bottle, and I made that one into a plastic bottle trap. The area had been used by the British military in the past, SAS I think actually, to do some of their jungle training. And Woody, who was my old mate, who used to do the behind the scenes for a lot of my shows actually, and but I remember them saying to me, "You're crazy." In the Amazon, whenever I'd go for a poo, there's often a long drop toilet, and it was often situated above the water. And invariably, if you're having a poo into the water, natural thing to do is to look down, and sometimes it dropped quite a long way into the water because it was designed to accommodate the flood waters going up and down. So it's quite high above the water sometimes, but you'd see all the fish coming straight in and eating your poo. Obviously, put two and two together, fish like poo, didn't have any bait, pooed into the bottle, and managed to catch quite a few fish. So I was quite pleased with that. There's a little think outside the box, poo in a bottle. Do remember the fish tasting somewhat tangy. So I was eating my own poo, is the honest answer. I was eating my own poo. On something like Marooned, I need to do 2 solid scenes a day. So things like spending a huge amount of time collecting firewood become quite frustrating, and also spending huge amounts of time just patiently looking at pools, trying to find crayfish, trying to find frogs on the banks and stuff like that. Just takes so much time. And if you haven't filmed it, there's no point doing it. And if it's not televisual, I mean, aside from physically eating, obviously, but I'm not there to just survive. I'm there to make a program. So it's often the pressure of filming and creating the content that is actually harder than the physical surviving bit. Because once you found a staple, I've always tried to identify a staple, be that, I don't know, rushes or I don't know, bamboo shoots or taro root, or something which is a bit of a carb, or berries or something like that I can go back and eat lots of. But once I film myself eating it once, there's no point filming myself eating it again, because I know it won't make the edit. Each scene's got to be something new, and if I'm just going, right, that's nice, I found a big mulberry bush, I'll come back here 3 times a day, every day for the next 9 days, and just eat mulberries. It's not going to work, Ed. It's not going to work for telly, is it? Yeah, right over. See that big pool over there?
Maybe we had forgotten the other trap in here. That one in the middle.
Where are we going? What are we doing?
Going to check the trap.
Gran and I are off down to the river to check the trap. Will there be any fish in it? That's the big question. Do you want to check it?
What?
You can go and get it. Look at the size of them. They're veritable lobsters. It looks like a prehistoric beast. Look at this beast of crayfish that we caught in the river. That was a monster. An absolute monster. It's hot. Look at that, mate. That is a monster crayfish. The key to crayfish is lots of salt. Loads of salt in that pan. Salt is the sea. That's what they say. Well, what a fantastic breakfast. Freshly caught crayfish from the river behind the house.
And it stinks.
In a trap. You know what the bits on the underside of the tail are called, then put it in the comments below. Obviously they're legs, we know that bit. Pincers, got it, tail. But what are those bits? Answers on a postcard. Laura's doing a course in Ayurveda at the moment, and it's all about eating food that has prana in it. And prana, according to Ayurvedic, beliefs it is kind of life energy in food, and the longer you leave it, like if you're eating a slightly soft carrot that's been in the fridge for 2 weeks, then yeah, it might have the same nutrients, but I guess even the micronutrients have been degraded. But what it's lost is the prana, the sort of life force energy, and this is packed with the stuff. It's not bad, is it? Right, breakfast of champions.